Welcome to Knights of Roleplay, an adventuring podcast. This is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Royalty-free music provided by Kevin MacLeod, Michael Gelfie Studios, Plate Mill Games, and Tabletop Audio. And now, to adventure. Hello listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of Knights of Roleplay. I'm DM Chris, and we are starting, this is session 0 for John's campaign Keys from the Golden Vault, which is a adventure book from Wizards of the Coast that is an anthology of heist themed adventures. So I will turn it over to DM John.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
Hello. So yes, this is just going to be our session 0 for, as Chris said, Keys to the Golden Vault. Which is a little
Keys
bit
from the
Golden Vault.
I already crossed out from and I was going to fix it. God damn.
From the Golden Vault, yes.
Now I need a whole new page. Jesus Christ. I never take notes.
So, yes, it's a little bit different from what we've been normally playing, which has been a much more combat-oriented. This one is going to be a much more role-play-oriented session, adventure. So, I expect there's probably going to be a lot of sessions where there may not even be any combat at all. I don't know.
Greg's gonna hate this.
Yeah, no. I don't know. But the reviews for this module have been very positive, so I'm hopeful.
Your reviews are positive.
Yes, my reviews are always positive.
Oh, you said I'm going to hate this. Did you say that?
I did.
I'm like, no.
He said no combat. I'm like, Greg's gonna hate this.
So, yeah. So let's just go over real quick what you can expect from this. I plan to run... The module itself contains 13 adventures of it. I plan to run 11 of them. 2 of them were considered kind of meh.
Gotcha.
So I was going to bypass those. And it kind of caused weird leveling issues anyway. And I'm expecting each of these adventures to last 4 or 5 sessions apiece, but that's kind of a number out of my butt because it really depends a lot on you guys. Since these are really role-play heavy sessions, we could end up spending a lot more time on the planning or something like that than what I'm figuring. It's fine. We just run with whatever it is.
You said 3 or 4 sessions apiece. So
4 or 5.
4 or 5. Okay.
John's he's totally guessing, yeah.
We're spitballing.
We're spitballing.
We're just throwing the spit at your wall and we're going to let it stay there.
Yeah,
That's fine.
So,
There's been worse things.
Campaign length, adventure duration, those things are all very spitballed.
they always are. So, but if it does hold to that 5 sessions per adventure, we can expect to be in this for about 2 years-ish, based on our bi-weekly schedule.
I doubt it'll go that long, but I understand your estimate.
I'm going to get tired of it by then.
No.
Actually, that is a concern of mine. If we get to the point where we're just like, okay, we're done with heists now, let's move on to something else, and that's fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
who's to say we don't pause it like Candlekeep on occasion for a little hiatus, right?
Also a possibility. If at any point somebody wants to jump in and do a little one-shot or something like that when we're between adventures, that's perfectly fine too.
Okay.
I am also planning to have probably 1 session of downtime in between each adventure, because I'd like to, play with the world a little bit more, and also, give your characters a chance to actually do stuff if they want to. If that doesn't turn out, so be it. That's just kind of the idea. If you just want to off-screen your downtime, we can do that too. Whatever.
Okay.
So we'll play that one by ear as we go. If you're not enjoying it,
Okay.
we'll do. All right. So where am I? Back to my notes here. Okay. When the way these adventures work is, generally speaking, you are not given all the information that you need to actually come up with your plan at the start of the adventure. Part of the adventure is actually finding the information you need to actually make your plan for the final heist.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
when things start jumping in, your first plan is probably going to be along the lines of, okay, what do we need to know? How do we go about finding it? And go from there. So just so we don't end up belaboring on the whole, okay, let's come up with our plan for the final heist just as soon as you get the note and you don't know, actually no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so find out where this person lives, find out what their routine is, watch them and see where how they come and go.
Right.
You know, things like that.
Exactly.
And the NPC giving us the initial heist won't necessarily have all the information, so there's no point in asking them and playing questions.
That is correct.
Looks at Kate. Love you.
Love you. Yeah.
I have 20 questions for you.
So,
I'll allow 5.
so setting. We are actually going to be starting off in Shakar in Iodor, on Chris's homebrew world.
Cool.
So
Chris's homeworld. Finally figured out where you came from. Sorry, I
explains so
explained
much.
sidetracking.
Chris's homebrew campaign setting.
yes, so. You threw off my groove, Sarah. All right, where was I
I'm
going?
sorry, I like to disprove you.
John had a groove.
I was
What?
totally in
Groovy.
my groove.
His groove is in the heart.
It could be a China groove.
Wow.
So that being the case, I will try to slip in where I can a bit of dynamic world building. There will be times where we'll be doing traveling and things like that. So,
Do you mean collaborative world building?
yeah, the collaborative world building.
Gotcha. Okay.
As much as I can. It is a module, so it's going to be a little bit more restricted in that regard, but
Sure.
we'll do what I can. And also, because this is an actual module, things that are introduced by the module may or may not actually be canon to the world itself. Because, just like, if you were to slip this into the Sword Coast or something like that, it's not
Right.
necessarily going to be canon to other people's...
Right. If something about your adventure mentions Baldur's Gate and you say Baldur's Gate, it probably won't exist in my world, but yeah.
As far as I know, nothing in the module does
It'll
something that
be-
specific.
Galder's bait.
There's probably ways you can flavor alternately. If you see something
sure.
that's like egregiously not canon.
But there are
it's okay. It's not
a
a big
lot of
deal.
a lot of the module though does depend on the multiverse of the of D&D as a whole,
Cool.
including things like extraplanar entities,
Chris's
things like
campaign set the precedent for that anyway.
that. Kind of did, yeah.
Yeah, so that fits.
So it'll be up to you to decide. So it'll be up to you, Chris, to decide what of this is canon to your world and what's
Yeah,
not.
sure. And are you referring to the
Colossi
the
structure
Stargate?
with the
Yeah.
with the gate and the visions of
Yeah.
the Spacefarers crew.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
I
we
think
have also
there's
had
a
already
lot
had,
of
like,
flex
Fey
room
run-ins
there,
and
which
Sure.
is pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
It'll be fun, like once this campaign is done, or even while it's going, to say like, okay, all this stuff can easily exist in my world. This thing probably won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the end of every session, I'm going to continue with the whole stars and wishes thing because
Woohoo, I think
people
that's
seem to
fun.
like that.
Yeah.
I've even got DM Chris even got me little sheets here that I can fill out and take notes and throw away when I get home.
You don't know anything about what it's like to be ADHD, do you?
not
I'm
really.
impressed you actually throw them out. With me, it would be like in the
No, it would-
nondescript
it
pile on
goes in
side
the
of my
doom
desk.
pile.
The
Yeah.
doom, yeah.
On the side of the desk.
I never looked at
I'll look at this eventually.
Yeah.
Never looks at it
I'll
again.
worry about that for the next session, which I'm doing at the last minute.
20 years later. What is this?
Oh yeah.
All right, so any questions about the game setting, the game type, anything like that? Are we good on that?
No.
So it takes place.
No, we're not good on that?
No question.
Oh, okay.
I totally came out with like a no, we're not okay.
I'm not okay.
I was gonna laugh.
Our poor listeners are going to be like, this is just them talking, like sitting around shooting the shit, isn't it? This is what it's like for them to plan shit.
So it's in the world of Harkenrath on the continent of Iodor, focused in the city of Shikar.
Well, you'll be starting.
Starting in Shikar.
The focus, there isn't really a focus. It's kind of
Okay.
all over the place.
Yeah. Sounds like we could be plane hopping. I mean, it all sounds fun and interesting. So
Well,
cool.
I wouldn't get that fancy.
It doesn't
it
sound
only,
fun.
we only, oh yeah, I mean, this thing only takes you up to level 11.
Gotcha.
So
11.
11.
Happy to get to 11.
Yeah.
Turn the campaign up to 11.
If we get to the final adventure, you'll be level 11 in that adventure.
It's a good chance to play test 2024, so that's exciting.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah, these are our first characters with 2024 D&D rules.
Right. So I'm being a little strict on the character creation because of that. I'd like to avoid legacy stuff because
Sure.
you can get weird interactions, but I'll get to that.
Sure.
Okay, game rules in general. This is an open discussion. None of this, I'm not going to be like, well, that's the rules, and you guys got to live with it. So we're just going to go over this real quick. We'll be using milestone leveling. So you'll level up after each adventure. It just kind of seems to work best with the module.
Right, after the conclusion
By
of like
each
the overall,
heist, right?
Yeah, each heist.
4 or 5 adventure heist level.
Right.
Each, kind of like we've been
Right.
doing in Candlekeep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems to be the way D&D modules just tend to be.
After
built.
each chapter of the book is finished, you get a level.
Yeah.
That makes
Go on to the
good
next chapter of the
sense.
book.
Basically,
I like it.
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Keeps it fresh.
There is no, as always, with each of these adventures, there is no guarantee of success.
Okay.
If you success generally doesn't lead to death unless you guys really screw up, but if you can fail a mission, and if you do, the biggest problem is you're just going to miss out on some pretty sweet rewards for each one. We'll still roll through to the next
So
mission.
failure doesn't necessarily mean death.
Right.
Okay.
It's not going to be the end of the campaign. It's just going to be, well, you screwed up this one. Let's just roll through to the next one.
Right.
Just fail forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but did you die?
I mean, I think that's interesting. Like if we try to pull off a heist and then we fail and then we have to regroup and go for another heist. I mean, I think that's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just got to bail people out of jail and whatever else.
So get rid of those sheets if you have extra characters somewhere. You're not going to need them. Is what he said.
That is what he said.
Other than that, it's mostly our usual MO. No PvP. If you want to in character narrate a fight or something like that between you guys, that's between you two. But we're not going to be rolling dice against each other.
Yeah, PvP meaning, for some listeners who may not know, player versus player.
Yeah.
There's no infighting in the group. That's just a no-no in most groups.
That's it. For the most part, I think at this point we're pretty well aware of each other's red flags and trigger points. But the module itself is pretty tame, so I'm not too concerned about that. That said, weird things do still happen. If something like that comes up, just flag me. We'll take a break and regroup and try and accommodate. Because obviously I want you guys to have fun and not be dealing with whatever your triggers are.
Is it all right if we just say, like, can we pause for a moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say,
Or something like that, yeah.
I need to go take a look at the baby or something like that. I don't know. Or just send me a text too is another option.
I don't mind if people talk. If people are just like, hold on a second, I need to talk about something, I can just make a timestamp and edit it out. So
Yeah, that's fine.
however you want to communicate, just make sure that if you're uncomfortable or something that you tell people.
Yeah. Everybody has that right to just say stop. Don't feel bad if you feel you need to. I want you guys to be having fun. All right. Next page. Metagaming.
He looks at Kate.
They don't look at Medicaid. Again, much like Tomb of Annihilation, the nature of this module really kind of puts the screws to metagaming. There's probably going to be a lot of times where you're going to want to deliberately split up, like, this person goes over here to do a distraction, so this person can be over here to do something else, that kind of thing. So the chit-chat between that tends to go on at this table, and not just with Kate, it kind of all of you do it to some extent or another, of people saying things like, well, your character can do this, so why don't you try doing this? Or, my character can do this, so if you do this, then we can do this together. That kind of thing. Try to keep that to an effect. As much as possible, keep that in character.
Sure.
So, like, if your character knows that another character can do something,
In combat and they're together. Right?
and they're
actually together, not in
then
separated
the character
locations.
can make a suggestion to the other character, and the other character can respond in kind, in character.
Yep.
Okay.
But if you're in a situation like you said, if the two characters are not together,
Yeah.
you can't start giving suggestions like that.
And I think a question there is, I think some of us are pretty good about this anyway, but just to kind of, we're learning a new game system, right?
We are.
So that I would hope that this is separate from like Greg is trying to do something and his character is running solo and he says, hey, DM John, I'm not sure how XYZ works for my character. Can you help me to review?
This is
right?
something
And I'll try to do the same thing, right?
Yep,
Versus the jumping in and coaching.
Yeah,
right?
you headed me off. I was about to say, this is not, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about rules interpretations.
Clarifications, yeah.
Like, for instance, I mean, if it's something like somebody remembers that another character had advantage on an attack, that you can shout out a reminder, hey, you had advantage on that. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Reminding each other about a particular weird rule or asking
Yeah.
questions about rules.
Just
get
not big
clarifications.
tactics, basically.
Right.
If it doesn't, not
Don't
appropriate
try
to the
to,
setting. Yeah.
Don't try to play another person's character.
Yeah.
That's all. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's enough on that character. I
Sure.
think I got my point across.
Sure.
Okay, but since we are starting with new rules, I am going to try to stick as close to the actual core rules as possible until we learn them.
Yeah.
There's no point in coming up with all kinds of house rules and stuff like that for a system we don't even really know yet.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So that said, feel free to take whatever time you need to review rules. In fact, please do so, because there's a lot of weird little edge cases that have changed, and if you think you know how something works because of how we played it before, that may not be the case.
Yeah.
So just kind of look it up real quick and make sure that it still works the same way.
Okay.
It's still going to be on you guys to know your characters and the rules involved in your characters. But we can take the time just to make sure that everything is still the way it's supposed to be with the new rules. Also, because the Dungeon Master's Guide has not been released yet for the 2024 rules as of the time of this playing, I am still going to be using the 2014 Dungeon Master Guide rulings.
Okay.
Until such time as the actual Dungeon Master's Guide for 2024 comes out.
Sure.
And I'll switch over then if there's any major changes. Hopefully this doesn't create any bit of weirdness.
I wouldn't. I'm trying to think in my head, like, what would that even be? And the only thing I can think of is magic items. Like, if we somehow had magic items given to us before the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide comes out, then those magic items might switch properties or something. I don't know.
Or just a little bit.
A little bit.
That is a potential concern, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that'd be easy to rectify. It's like, okay, now your magic item works this way. Okay, and that's it.
And if it totally breaks what its intended use was as a result, we can work with it.
I mean, could we house rule it if that was the case?
If that's the case, if it completely changes the way it works as far as how you were expecting it to work, then yes, we can house rule it that it either stays the same, or I might allow you a trade in.
Yeah, like this item in the DMG 2024 is the same as this other item in the 2014 book. So now you have that item instead. Maybe something like that.
The equivalent, right?
Yeah, basically the equivalent of it in the 2024 DMG. Okay.
So the guide is out in D&D Beyond, but
Just
not out in...
just the player's handbook is.
Oh, okay.
The Dungeon Master's Guide is not out anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what I was confused about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because of errata, or did they just plan the release?
No, it's just the
later?
release schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the Monster Manual is going to come out like a couple months after
Time
that.
it for the holidays, man.
Well, no, the DMG is coming out in 2025, and so is the Monster Manual, and they're staggered. So yeah.
So we'll just have to roll with that as best we can.
Yep.
Okay. Next thing I want to touch on, we have up to this point been house ruling that a passive abilities minimum, or an abilities minimum is your passive. That will not be the case. for this one.
So if you have passive perception of 15
Yeah.
and you roll lower than 15, then you get whatever you rolled rather than
I mean,
defaulting to the
take
15.
Are you going to rule, like, if you're, like, right next to something that the passive abilities work like you did in Tomb of Annihilation? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That is what those are supposed to be for.
Okay.
The passive skills are supposed to be for me, according to the rules, to say, okay, this just happens. And if something doesn't just happen, then you're going to have to roll.
Okay.
This, and you take whatever the roll is. I mean, A, people sometimes screw up. It happens. Or circumstances can be weird.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And also B, I don't know if the 2014 book did it, but the 2024 rules seem to be a little bit more about passive abilities for basically all your abilities. Every ability has a passive score, which is 10 plus your modifiers.
Okay.
And there may be times when that comes into play, like lock picking, stuff like that, which I'll get to later.
Okay.
Any questions on any of that so far?
I don't think so.
Bitches, gripes, complaints.
I mean, I'm a bitch, but you know.
But you have no gripes or complaints.
No.
I might have gripes.
Yeah, I read.
but-
I have
Okay, so you
grapes.
can be the bitches, you can be the gripes. Who wants to be the complaints? Kate can be the complaints. Okay.
I've listened to some podcasts and I've watched some videos that talk about how like some of the tools are like, if you want to use this lockpick, this is a flat DC. And some people are like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Other people are like, how about you set that as like, the moderate difficulty. It's like it might be higher than what it says in the player's handbook, or it might be lower, or you might say, yes, we're always using the default DC for that tool or whatever, but you have disadvantage because of this, or you have advantage because of that.
Yeah.
So it is a little janky having set DCs there.
It's actually not, well, from what I was reading, because I did actually specifically, given the nature of our campaign, specifically look up the rules for invisibility, hiding, lockpicking, things like that.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to go over them real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Because invisibility has changed.
Dun dun dun.
Invisibility is now actually a condition.
That's it, I quit.
30 years down the drain.
And things like the invisibility spell just give you the invisibility condition.
Right.
And when you have this condition, it has things like you can't be targeted by spells that require sight.
Right.
You have advantage on attacks against creatures that can't see you, and creatures have disadvantage on attacks against you that can't see you. Things like that.
Yep.
But the invisibility spell is not the only way to get that condition anymore.
Right.
When you hide, hiding now has a straight DC of 15. Whether or not but you can only do it under specific circumstances. Things like when nobody's actually, you're not in the line of sight of a creature and stuff, which is important. Creatures no longer have 360-degree vision. It used to be under 2014, it was considered every creature is aware, it has a general awareness of its surroundings. Not really the case anymore with hiding.
Okay.
If a creature is not looking at you and you have a place to get 3/4 cover or better, then you can hide. So it's a little bit easier to use than it used to be. You still, however, have to keep track of what you actually roll above the 15, because that's going to be the DC for somebody to find you.
Yep.
But if you successfully hide, you get the invisibility condition. And that means you actually become unseen at that point, and as long as you can sneak out, and I have some fiat on that as to whether or not you could actually step out and not be seen.
Right.
Like if you're in a straight hallway with guards at the end and you hide behind a flower pot, if you step out from behind the flower pot, they're probably going to see you.
Right.
But beyond something like that, then you have the invisibility condition until you do something to break it.
The idea is as long as the circumstances allow you to be invisible to a certain creature, then you stay that way.
Yeah. Well, it's a condition. You're invisible to everything.
To everything. Okay. But again, as long as they don't have like direct line of sight on you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or the circumstances allow you to, like, say, one example that was given is, like, say in combat, creatures A and B are fighting the fighter, and the rogue goes and hides. There's nothing to say that the rogue can't sneak out and get a sneak attack in because the fighter's distracting them.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Makes sense. Yeah. Their attention is on the fighter.
Right.
I got it.
So things like that. Like, in our hallway situation, the rogue can be hiding, the distraction can come down and start distracting the guards, and the rogue can try to slip on past.
Cool.
So try to leverage that and get the circumstances working to your favors, and hide becomes much more useful.
Okay.
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see.
Greg's a rogue.
Greg's a rogue. Greg's a rogue. Greg's
going to be figuring this out.
Yeah. Lock picking has also been clarified much more. One of the adjustments made in 2024 is that you can no longer have expertise in tools.
Okay.
Oh.
You can only have expertise in skills. But that's okay.
Makes
Because
sense.
lock picking is now defined as a sleight of hand skill check.
Cool.
So the situations are, if you have proficiency in sleight of hand, then you can make your check and add your proficiency bonus. If you have proficiency in thieves' tools, then you can make your check adding your proficiency bonus. If you don't have proficiency in either one, you can still try, but you're not going to get
Can
your
certainly
proficiency
try.
bonus.
I did give myself advantage or expertise in sleight of hand.
There you go.
I have a +6.
So in
right
your
now.
case, when you make a lock picking check, you can add twice your
Proficiency bonus?
Thank you.
If it's expertise instead of just proficiency.
If you have proficiency in both sleight of hand and thieves' tools, which you may, you still only add your proficiency bonus once or twice if you have expertise in one of them in sleight of hand.
Right.
But you get advantage on the roll.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about was magic items. There will be magic items that you may acquire. The rules on attunement and identification have been clarified. You can still identify an item on a short rest, but is the only thing you can do on that short rest, because you have to sit and you have to focus on the item to identify it.
Okay.
So like you can't have a short rest and take care of these other little things you were wanting to. Oh, and while I'm at it, let's identify this thing. No, it doesn't work. Identify has to be the only thing you can do on that short rest.
Okay.
You can still attune to an item over a short rest. In fact, you must attune to an item over a short rest. And it is the only thing you can do during that short rest.
Okay.
This means that identifying and attuning are now mutually exclusive.
So you have to do 2 short rests, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
If you want to hurry that up, that's what the spells like Identify are for. So
Okay.
you can identify before you start your short rest and decide if you want to attune to it.
I take it that means you can't like roll hit dice on the short rest too.
That is something entirely different. That's
Okay.
not an activity.
So you're
That's-
still resting.
You are still resting.
Okay.
So you can still get hit points back and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just you can't help the party to like review documents or something like that. At the
right.
same time.
Sure.
Yeah,
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Like that's great. You want to do that? I gotta identify this thing. Fuck you guys. Bye.
All this, it's your problem.
That's a you problem. This is a me problem. Bye.
And as before, you can still only have a maximum of 3 attunements unless you're a really awesome artificer who lets you have up to 6.
My character sheet has a magic item wish list in it. Just telling you.
Yeah.
John's like artificer. I was an artificer. Artificers are amazing. Artificer. Artifice. Go.
So if you hit that max and you want to attune to another item, it's a short rest to unattune from an item.
Oh.
And it's the only thing you can do.
Okay.
So if you want to swap out an item, you have to spend a short rest to unattune from something. Then you have to spend another short rest to attune to the new one.
Wow, that takes a long
Well,
time.
frack.
Yeah. So you can't just drop an attunement anymore.
Gotcha.
Better to do it on the long rest.
Yeah. Or yeah, you could do it on a long rest. It's a 1 hour thing,
Right.
and a long rest lets you do both. Or you can do it during downtime, whatever. You'll have
But
plenty
you
of
might
time
not
for it.
get your full sleep in if you spend too many hours doing other things.
Well, I think as most people only need 6 hours in the 8 hour long rest, so you've got 2 hours to play with.
Well, it's considered.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just
Assuming
says
that rule
doing.
hasn't changed.
Yeah,
Assuming
it just
that
says
rule-
doing
yeah,
nothing.
that's
Nothing that is exerting, and I wouldn't consider these to be exerting.
I do.
Oh, you have experience in identifying magic items?
I do.
Wow. Okay, so then I will just turn that over to you.
Okay.
And let-
Thank
for you.
y'all.
Wow.
That is pretty. That's pretty much the only little things I wanted to cover as far as rules. Most everything else is going to be our normal MO. If something comes up during play, then we can kind of play it then. Does anybody have any questions or any concerns that they want to bring up right now? I'm looking at Chris.
Were there? So I mean, there's a handful of other rules that have changed, like mechanically.
Right.
Do you want to go over some of those?
If you know any of them off the top of your head, do you think that might be relevant to the group that you want to clarify right now? Yeah, we can go over that.
Just a couple, but I mean, like, are you still working on your list here? I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of whatever you're.
No, we're good. I'm
You're
ready.
good?
I'm ready to go on to the our
I do
character
have one
creation. So
question.
this is the time.
Go ahead, Kate.
So now instead of normal inspiration, we have heroic inspiration, which it looks. I
Correct.
think the way it's rolled is a little bit different.
It is.
And I was curious, like, if you're planning just to keep it real basic, like I award it for doing cool things, or if it's going to have like something in the flavor of what we did in the last campaign.
Yeah. No, for now,
Yep.
I'm going to play that raw, which means I'll hand out inspiration as I see it. I'm usually pretty good. I usually tend to like to hand that out. So usually you're going to have one hanging around somewhere. But yeah, the rules are basically that you can spend that at any time to re-roll a single dice before you know the outcome. So, like, if you roll with advantage to attack, and you don't like the roll, then you can spend that to roll one of the two dice
Again.
on the attack. If you roll for damage and you don't like the rolls, you can spend it to re-roll one of your damage die. I think that would probably be a bad use of it, but it's there.
Yeah.
That's how I understand the roll.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here on my character sheet. It says you can expend it to re-roll any die immediately after rolling it, which I think implies that you don't know what the result is going to be.
Right.
So you
Right.
just roll it, and then you decide right then and there if you're going to re-roll it, and then you roll it, and it says you must use the new roll. So if you're rolling a d8 and you get a 4, and you're like, and then you roll it again and you get a 1, then you're stuck with the 1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, so it's not even just that it's giving you advantage anymore either. It's a reroll.
Yep.
it is.
And it's,
It- that's
you take
nice.
the new roll.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
nice that you
it's
don't
not an
have to-
additional die per se. It's you re-roll one of your dice.
Right, which is a little nicer than when in the last campaign where we had to like choose to roll something with advantage when we were going to use it without
Before you
knowing that.
roll,
Okay,
yeah.
my first dice is going to suck.
Yeah,
so
now you see the
yeah.
roll, but before you know the outcome, then
Yeah.
you decide.
Yeah.
You still have to not
This,
know the outcome.
this way, if you are on advantage and you roll 2 1s, you can spend that to roll your third one.
But it's really cool though because it's not just an attack roll or any sort of a d20 test. Like John said, it can be damage dice,
Could
which
be
I,
anything.
which I think is
Yeah.
really cool.
Could be a luck die.
Interesting note. Example of other ways to gain heroic inspirations. Human characters start each day with heroic inspiration.
Well, too bad. Okay, yeah, that's fine. If it's in the rules, then that's what we do.
Sarah and I are reading off our character sheets.
I'm reading off the character sheet. Thank you, D&D Beyond.
Totally sponsor us.
Yeah, please sponsor us. Yes.
The only other rule that popped into my head that I just read that I thought was very interesting was the fact that, and I feel like this is going to come up, is that if you move through an ally's space, it's not difficult terrain anymore. And I mean, it just says like it's difficult terrain to move through the space of another creature unless they are tiny, 2 sizes bigger or smaller, or if they're your ally. because if they're your ally,
I seem to remember something.
It's not difficult terrain. So here's my question, and I know I would rule in the way that would be the least probably in my mind cheesy, but it's your campaign. Because like if we're in a 5-foot wide hallway and we're all lined up in a row, and somebody's fighting in the front rank, like could somebody move up, attack, and move back, and then the next person in the rank move up, attack, and move back, and keep doing that? And obviously that if you allowed that to happen, the first person would provoke opportunity attacks when they moved away,
Right.
and then everybody after that would not provoke.
Right.
And I'm like, I feel like it's kind of cheesy to do that. But if you were to say, sure, you can do that, then I would be like, okay, cool.
I kind of started to read on that, and I will double check it, but my immediate thought is that would be allowed, but you would be squeezing.
In that particular instance.
Are there rules for squeezing? I mean, I haven't read the Player's Handbook 2024 extensively yet.
That's actually what I was just about to try to see if I can do.
I mean, in Chris's scenario, if your party doesn't have the movement to keep doing a conga line like that, it doesn't have the movement.
Right.
It's still not necessarily an easy, cheesy thing to do.
Yeah, because you still cannot voluntarily end your move in another
You still
creature's
can't
space.
end your move in their space.
So if you can't make the move and be out of somebody's space, then you're not
Right.
allowed to make that move.
Right. The person in the back is like, I move forward 15 feet, I move back 15 feet.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. But if you can't get back 15 feet for some reason,
if you only have a 25-foot movement because you're like a dwarf or something, then, you know.
yeah.
The only difference is you're not basically losing twice your movement through that if it's ally spaces.
Right.
Yeah, because of the new rules.
So I was just curious about that. 'Cause
Basically just gives you more movement.
I feel like it would possibly come up.
Right.
We've seen it come up before.
Movement, position, difficult terrain. Let's see what we got here. Playing on a grid.
It also wouldn't necessarily happen like that every time, that nobody else gets a provoke of opportunity, depending on where the order is for the enemy versus the rest of us.
Yeah, because
So, like, if two people go and then it's the enemy's turn, then they're going to get their opportunity to attack back.
right, and then the next person in the line goes and they have an opportunity attack again.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
So you can't willingly end your move in a space occupied by another creature if you somehow end up in a turn in a space with another creature. Like, say you get the opportunity attack and they hit you with something that reduces your move to 0. Then you have the prone condition. You fall over.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a super interesting corner case
Unless you're
that
tiny.
is going to come up, which is my barbarian is a bugbear, and he has sneaky. So you are proficient in stealth skill. In addition, without squeezing, you can move through and stop in a space large enough for a small creature. So it's probably going to come up in combat because he's the heavy and a barbarian.
Yeah,
but-
a space for a small creature
Yeah.
without squeezing doesn't really account for a space that another creature is occupying.
Yeah.
They're kind of two different things.
Okay.
Most of us will be mediums. You're not two sizes bigger or smaller than any of us
Yeah.
in that case.
Yeah.
It's probably more for like the sneaking aspect, right? But I didn't know if how it would flavor combat as far as like, can you stop and share a space with an ally? I wasn't sure because now it does
You're
fall
not, you're not
under-
supposed to, but
yeah,
you're telling me that
yeah.
the rule says
Yeah.
if one of us is small, you can stand in our space and fight with
Yeah.
us standing there.
Yeah.
I have no idea if that's the thing.
Right.
Well, I just had that. Where did they go? Let's see. Combat. You can't willingly end a move in a space occupied by another creature. If you somehow end a turn in a space with another creature, you have the prone condition, unless you are tiny or of a larger size than the other creature.
Is it a larger size?
A larger size.
Okay.
So,
As opposed to 2 sizes larger.
right.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about 2 sizes larger.
Okay. All right.
You still can't willingly end there. It just means that if you're forced to end your space in another creature's spot, you do not fall prone.
You just go down on all fours.
Can you read the feature, Kate?
Sure, I'll read it again. So it's sneaky. You are proficient in the stealth skill. In addition, without squeezing, you can move through and stop in a space large enough for a small creature.
Right.
can stop in a space.
Yeah. So
It just means if like there's a small tunnel ahead of you.
they have fey magic, so the logistics of this is really like if we're sneaking into a place that has a tiny little passage that my medium creature wouldn't, I can move and stop in that tiny little passage, whereas other characters wouldn't be able to stop.
And you wouldn't have the necessary.
But I wasn't sure how that affects combat because I thought that the tumble mechanic and going by your allies was part of the squeezing mechanics. So it's kind of weird, and I'm having a hard time finding good info on it. So,
No, the way I see it, it's pretty straightforward.
Sure, okay.
You cannot willingly stop in another creature's space. Period.
fair enough. Yep.
If you unwillingly stop in another creature's space,
Yeah.
because you're larger, you don't
Don't fall prone.
don't fall prone.
Bugbears are medium, actually, as written.
Bugbears are medium?
They're not large, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then you would fall prone.
Yeah, I think the confusion is that she's bringing this into context of other people's spaces, whereas
Yeah.
it's just talking about
Yeah.
spaces that you have to squeeze into,
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
not actual other
Sure.
players being involved at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really have anything
Yeah.
to do with another
Has
creature.
nothing to do
Yeah.
with
Okay.
what we were discussing.
If it's a tiny
I
little
was
cubby,
curious. Yeah,
you can stop in
You
there.
can stop in it,
right.
Because normally you couldn't do that.
Works for me.
whereas normally you'd be so constricted that you can't.
Right.
That's all it is.
You just can't
yeah,
fit in that space.
Has
But
nothing to do with
this
moving
bugbear
in and out
can.
of people's spaces.
This big puffball in this little square.
I think
Because it's
the
most-
flavor of Bugbear for this type of campaign I'm actually very excited about. It seems fun.
Supposedly. Yeah, I don't think anything. I don't see squeezing in here. I will have to research that and get back to you. The rules on squeezing in that case.
That's cool. I mean, we're gonna, we don't have an exhaustive list of all the rules changes in front of us,
Yeah.
Right.
so we'll have to play it by ear as we
A lot
go.
of it's going to be just as we come across it.
Right.
I'm gonna keep reading the Player's Handbook. You will probably keep reading the Player's Handbook, John.
I will never read the Player's Handbook.
I think there are people who've
I
done
never
some.
even read the 2014 Player's Handbook.
Sly Flourish did, and I still haven't listened. He released a podcast that summarized the major changes, and I haven't even had a chance to. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
try
I
to
mean,
listen to
you-
something
you
like
can
that
find
sometime
videos
soon,
and
just to get
podcasts and-
some of it in my head.
All kinds of stuff like that.
I mean, I read it, but I didn't read it.
Okay. Anything else from bitches, gripes, or complaints that before we move on to
Gripes are clear.
gripes are clear. Okay. No
Bitches
gripes.
are clear.
No bitches. No gripes. Okay. Okay.
Chris is like, timestamp. I wish we still timestamp.
I know.
Sarah's referring to the trailers we used to do, which took up a great deal of time.
Yeah. And we know why we didn't do it, but they're still fun.
It was fun.
All right. Then let's talk characters then. Now,
Okay.
being a heist adventure, as I explained in the handout, most of this isn't going to be a combat-focused campaign, although there is going to be some. But most of your successes are going to depend on your ability, on your individual adaptability, and your ability to work as a group and how cohesive and how well your group synergizes. Let's go ahead and go over our characters here real quick. Real quick, I say. Because now is the time for the four of you to go ahead and discuss your characters, what you think your overall role in the group is going to be, and let's give you the chance to actually make a team out of your characters. So, to get that ball rolling on that, Sarah, what is your character? At least in concept.
When you say what, do you mean race, class, blah, blah,
How
blah?
about, how about what role you want to play?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm looking to be the mastermind role.
Nice.
So,
I have started putting together a cleric with the plan of going trickster domain.
Nice.
snazzy.
Her name is Trixiella, otherwise known as Trixie.
All right. So we're looking at the mastermind here. How do you kind of envision your character kind of playing out within the group?
I'm actually at a loss for words. I'm not used to that.
All right. Well,
Neither are we, Sarah.
Everybody's looking at me like, what the actual F is wrong with you?
like I said, this is new territory for all of us, so we're just kind of playing this by ear anyway. So let's go to Kate. And what is your character concept?
Okay.
And how do you see yourself fitting into the group?
All right, so there may be a full name here, but my character, who I believe is actually a male bugbear, will be called Fuzzy.
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy, not
What role in our group do you
So
see
I
yourself playing?
envision him being what I'm going to call affectionately the muscle, but with some flair. So he's a barbarian, but his background is actually charlatan. So he in appearance, like, this is a bugbear who wears glasses and seems very put together, very cultured. So, like, you saying that this is not necessarily going to be combat heavy, he can flex that direction if he has to.
Good.
But he also has some skill with sleight of hand and disguise, and, you know, maybe he masquerades as a cook or as a musician playing the flute or something as we're trying to make our way into certain situations. So he's heavy fighter. Bugbears are awesome for heavy carrying capacity. He could probably flex a little bit into escape artist because of that squeezing ability. But yeah, overall the muscle, but with some utility built on the side.
So primarily the muscle, but but able to fill in other roles.
Correct.
As needed to.
Yep.
Okay, so it shouldn't step on other roles too much. I don't think, because
think so.
I think that's a little bit of overlap with yours, Chris.
It is overlap with mine, yes.
I mean, it's up to you guys. I can adjust him otherwise, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to tell you how to make your character, but each of us having a unique role that we have in the group and that nobody else has makes the person with the role feel more special. You know, so I would prefer that you not have overlap with my character, so that's kind of the place where I shine, rather than you also shining there sometimes too.
Okay.
That's just my own personal feeling.
I mean, I'll have to look at there are different things that you can pick within Charlatan that I could adjust differently. I think the skills that I took with it were, he's got intimidation, he's got deception, stealth because he's a bugbear, sleight of hand. So I could try to see if I can tweak into some different skills if that overlaps with ones that you want to keep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just,
Sure.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I would like to be the person who shines as the Master of Disguise. That is the role that I am choosing.
Okay.
And if you're also doing Master of Disguise, it's like, I'm not as cool anymore.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us about your character, then, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll define our.
I mean, I envision it's
boundaries here.
not necessarily disguised, but that he has the skills to, like, do other trades, right? You know, but let's see what he does.
So hang on a second. So,
Yep.
Chris.
So my character is a changeling, and they are a wizard. And I was planning on doing the Master of Disguise role. Obviously, changelings, they can change their appearance, they can change their skin color, their hair length, the sound of their voice. They don't like magically change their clothes. That would be like the disguise self spell,
Right.
or magic items and things like that. But yeah, my character has basically spent their life taking on different personas, and changelings in their natural state are sort of somewhat vague features, very androgynous, sort of non-binary. But typically, you don't see them in that state. You see them in whatever sort of personas that they like. And I have like 5 for this character already. But I'm going to stick with one primary one that they use all the time. So that
their base state.
yeah, their base state. Yeah. So changeling, wizard, role of Master of Disguise.
Master of Disguise.
That's my plan. Yeah.
Okay. And do you, Kate, do you see your character as kind of slipping into that like disguise role at all too much, or?
I mean, I don't know if it's in the same way, because he's going to have adaptability with his wizard spells and stuff and changeling abilities to like change his roles mid-adventure. Whereas like my character is skilled in like cooks utensils and brewer's supplies or something. So it's like I'm picturing Ocean's 11. Like sometimes the heavy guy is still there, like either you know, pretending to be a security guard, approaching the kitchen with like, what the F, this stuff is all messed up, right? I don't see it being quite the same, but if
You're
we're worried
thinking
about
more of like a blendability than necessarily
I'm thinking
disguisability.
blendability more so than disguisability. Like, he has one physical costume that he gets to have because of how he's built, but he can't change the way that a changeling can.
Right, but you're still taking on like a different persona, which is exactly what I'm doing.
I think it's just his persona in general. He's not going to be changing it. He's like picture like Beast, like big, heavy, can unleash and go ragey if need be, but otherwise just like very intelligent and studied, and that's kind of what I was picturing.
What do you envision, Chris? As to like what kind of activities would you be taking on during the heist, more specifically? Do you think?
Like my character would, for example, if the heist was centered around a particular individual who like we were stealing something from, and for whatever reason it became necessary for that individual to have to like dismiss the guards from a certain area so we could get in. I would change the way I look and sound to appear and sound exactly as that individual, and then go and try to convince the guards that, you know, hey, I'm this guy and you need to leave right now so that you're not guarding the magic item or whatever. And then I could just as easily like switch into a guard and then go talk to another guard and say, hey, our boss told us that we have to leave, you know, and I could just keep switching personas and switching the characters that I'm playing, and basically pretend to be different people.
So I built my character with the utility that he has, not to have him go that deep into cover, so to speak, but to have him be able to believably be on the fringes of our missions, so that if you need him to rough something up, if he has to meet you or whoever gets the stuff somewhere and haul out 200 pounds of gold, right? Like, it gives him a reason to be there, so he's not just out there being a big brute who then fails some deception check or something because a guard happens to see him.
I really am having a hard time understanding what you're describing, and whether or not that would sort of step on the toes of the role that I want to do.
I mean, in Ocean's 11, like, all the characters involved with the heist, every single one of them has to some extent like masquerade as another role to get close enough to whatever facility they're heisting, so that the whole thing doesn't unravel right from the beginning, right?
Sure.
So I think everybody to some extent is going to be trying to deceive and, you know, not knowing how all these heists play out, right? Like, I think that's going to be a good skill for any character in our party to have without stepping on the toes of like all the versatility that your disguise has, where you're the master of it.
The way I'm interpreting this, and both of you correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be more the manipulator. You get in there, you are the one to
Literally mastering the disguise.
Yes, literally mastering the disguise. To be the person who can get into the enemy's head, as it were. Her disguise abilities are not for interacting with NPCs, but for just to give her a reason to be there. Because as a heavy, in general... Yeah, I mean, if you're just this big brute walking around, you're going to draw attention to yourself unless you have some reason to be there.
Sure.
But it's not going to be useful as a way to actually...
Get the job done necessarily.
Yes, thank you.
So I envision him as an imposter of said individual versus she's just someone who's
A
there.
random person.
Yeah, someone that's just there and around. And say, for instance, if there needs to be a getaway driver, she's the getaway driver, but dressed as a delivery person.
Something like that.
You know, that's how I envision it, and that's
that's kind of. Which I was like, okay, he's
Or not so
cultured.
brainless brute.
yeah.
He likes food. He likes booze. He actually knows something about it. He could stand on his own feet if he's close to a building and someone asks him a question. Whereas a normal heavy, it's going to be like, well, guess I'm punching you in the face now. He can do that too, but heists don't go as well if you resort to that right away.
I mean, does that alleviate any of your concerns, or do you still feel that that's a little bit too infringing?
I don't know. It's something where it's going to have to play out. Because I mean, there could be scenarios where, like what you were describing, where if all of us need to be present at at some kind of an event or something like that,
Right.
and we don't want the bugbear to stick out. We don't want the person in the mask, which Greg is planning on wearing a mask. Sorry to spoil. Or
Trixie will be too.
Or okay, Trixie too. Okay, cool. But like if we all need to be at a party and we need to try to blend in at the party, I would be taking on probably the role of a very specific person, an individual to be at the party, whereas the rest of the group could easily be in some sort of a disguise, like you said, to sort of blend into the environment.
Like
so
that
that
they're the
bugbear-
wait staff or something like that sitting around.
Right. And like if everybody else in the group is taking on certain disguises to blend into things, I think that's fine.
Okay.
As long as people aren't like, impersonating specific individuals.
Yeah, no, that's not what we can do. No.
If it's just something that blends in, I
Yeah.
would honestly expect the entire group at some point or another to probably have to put on some sort of a disguise to blend in.
Yeah,
Which-
and I
which
mean,
is
in
fine.
fact, your character might be the crux of being able to achieve that effectively if they can dress others, right?
Yes,
That-
I am
that's
Lord
you.
Schmoozey Pants, and this is my retinue.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Smoochy pants.
I do envision that Trixie would probably be some sort of member of the community that people know.
Sure.
Maybe have never seen her face. So they're used to the fact that they've never seen her face. Like, she's
Yeah.
mysterious, but she's more well-known than maybe the rest.
Sure.
All right. I don't want you to think that we've pressured you into this. Or feel like we're shutting down your feelings on this one.
No, not at all. I again, it's a matter of I'm impersonating specific people.
Yeah. Okay,
And-
because that is exactly what we're doing. I just don't want you to feel that.
I hate you so much, John.
We love you so fucking much right now, John.
I really do think like it's hard to imagine that the group as a whole is not going to be trying to blend into different environments and have to put on certain kinds of disguises. I feel like that's a necessity in the group, and if that's the extent of what Kate's character is doing, then that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as I'm getting to portray specific individuals, then that's kind of my goal.
Okay, so, good.
You're the star of the show.
Now, the four of you are the star of the show.
Well, as far as the disguises goes.
Okay,
Right.
yes, he is the star.
My character's personality, he may think he's the star of the show.
I considered going in the flavor of Bard because I haven't played a Bard, but I felt like it would overlap more with what all you guys are. And not only that, but the party lacks a heavy. And I was like, how do I build a heavy, but also give him a little bit of versatility for this kind of environment?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go ahead on to your character there, Greg. What's your concept?
I am playing Mixiella, who is the sister of Trixie, and she is a rogue, or I would say expert thief. She is a little aloof, as it were. So she's the kind that she's never met anything that she hasn't liked or not wanted to steal. So,
A bit of a klepto, okay.
yes.
Good to have at least one of those.
What role are you playing, Greg?
Master thief.
So, mostly involved in breaking and entering the actual cloak and dagger side of it, I guess.
Smooth talker.
Yes.
So Chris's character is running interference with all his personas that he can put on, and meanwhile, Sneaky Pants here gets in and
Is
actually
robbing them blind.
unlocks
Yes.
the safe.
Yep.
Wasn't sneak one of the roles?
Yeah, what did you call it? The
Hiding.
Your
Invisibility.
character, we got escape artist, master disguise as muscle.
The escape artist,
decoy,
yes.
Demolition. Yeah.
It was the escape artist was one of the suggested roles, but as I said, the roles were just more guidelines, really,
Sure.
to kind of give you an idea.
Well, she's kind of that too, sort of.
Yeah. So the picker of locks, disarmer of traps, the gatherer of information, things like that.
The one who helps to make sure that the wizard doesn't get pasted by a trap while you guys are infiltrating something,
Basically,
right?
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The sneaker of snucks.
Yep.
Right.
You're a snuck.
All right. So it sounds like actually we've got a fairly decent spread of skills here. The planner, the heavy, the person who's the actual person involved in breaking and entering, and the distraction and schmoozer.
And with cleric, we've got a flare of healing there too on that
Yeah,
side.
because
as well.
there will be
Yeah.
combat, but it's
Yeah.
just not going to be the focus, as I've said.
I will not heal. No, I'm kidding.
So I see Greg like every adventure, and I'm exaggerating, but like every adventure, Greg's like, I'm bored. I attack this guy.
That could happen.
Trixie will hurt you.
You
He's like,
never,
I want to fight. I attack this guy.
you never,
Hey, at the very least, he gets things going.
you never know what Mixie's gonna do.
What's your character's name again, Chris?
My character's name?
Yeah.
My character's name is Ro.
Roe. R-O-E?
R-O-E, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we got Ro, Mixie, Trixie, and Fuzzy. Actually, I like it this way: Mixie, Trixie, Fuzzy, and Ro.
Oh my god! Why do we always do this?
What is that from? Like, what is it?
You know, I just like
The
we
ring.
have an E and a O. Oh.
At least all of our names don't start with an A,
Oh yes,
which was a huge pain in my butt. in
One of them was
Dragonbird
literally
campaign.
Z, other than the 3 A's, and then literally Z.
This character's fighting this Dragonbird. No, wait, that's the other A name. Ah! So annoying.
Don't get Mixie and Trixie confused though.
Yeah. Don't get it twisted.
So you've all had a chance to look over the D&D Beyond 2024 character creation. Do we have any particular concerns about that right now? I mean, we have an opportunity right now to actually go through the character creation process because they've rearranged quite a few things.
I haven't picked a race yet.
I mean, we're
so-
doing
yeah.
point by, right?
We are doing point by or standard array. You can choose
Okay.
one of the two.
And it's standard
That was a
array.
question that I had answered before we started recording.
Yeah.
Which is for our ability scores for listeners.
Right.
Yeah.
And the bonuses to those ability scores are now chosen by your background. Feel free to choose a custom background as you want. I mean, that's all allowed within the rules. So
My character does.
Doubles.
My character does have a custom background because the charlatan which is what Kate's character took. There was that one, and then another one that was very similar. It was like charlatan and I think imposter, and they both had elements of things that I liked, but I didn't think they made sense for the way I envisioned my backstory. So I made up my own one called Pretender. And I took elements from charlatan. I think I used charlatan as the base, or imposter as the base, and then I modified and I did my own custom background. So I have Pretender as a background, which is kind of a mix of imposter and
What
charlatan.
feat do you take out of that?
What feat did I took? Skilled,
Okay.
which I don't know if that was one of them or not. I don't know if I just added that in
Feat,
custom.
skilled is the default for charlatan. It's what I also used, but I think whereas you are probably doing things within that cater you to disguise, that's where I did flute, brewer supplies, and cook's utensils just to give her culture and environments where she can.
Oh yeah,
or
absolutely.
him.
I mean,
I gotta get used to him. Culture and environments that he can blend into.
yeah, I need to get used to they them
Yep.
because Ro is.
I
Very,
actually got that right for you the first time I referred to you.
oh, good, awesome.
Yay!
Trixie is
time.
also non-binary.
Yes, so we have two non-binary
Yeah.
characters,
Okay.
and a male character and a female character. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, got it.
okay,
Cool.
What about you, Greg? You had
So, Greg, you don't have a race, is that right?
Well,
We haven't decided what
No.
race we want to be yet.
Oh, the two of you. Okay, yeah, because you're going to
So
be twins.
Mixie
yeah.
and Trixie are actually twin sisters.
Okay,
The concept of their backstory, if it's not too much to share with the viewers,
go for it.
is that based on the Shardling race from our previous campaign, they were like an experiment that didn't intentionally happen.
Okay,
So they have elements of a Shardling, whereas they have there's reasons why they wear masks.
okay.
I love that your backstories are developing this whole cabal of evil scientists.
I'm envisioning a one shot that may get into that at some point. So stand by.
You're welcome,
It's,
by the way, because my Shardling developed these evil scientists.
Yes,
So to say, you can thank Aqua for all of it.
Yeah, from Dragonbird. Yeah.
So like their last names are number 24601-AI1 and 2.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I love it.
They don't have a real last name. If I can share that.
yeah.
You're okay with me sharing that, Greg? So we're not really sure what species, race they're going to fall into because they're not really. We're not using Shardling because it's not a homebrew, and they're not really human.
Sure.
We don't know if they should be constructs or because they're not really either of those things
Sure,
in our heads the way
Yeah.
that we're envisioning them.
I mean, is there a new
I still
feat?
love that. I love the concept. I think it's great.
Could you do human and then flavor it with some kind? Because humans, I think, don't they still get a bonus feat?
They do.
So you could flavor it with some kind of feat to make them more mechanically flavored. Maybe. I
Maybe.
don't know.
Maybe.
I haven't read up on a lot of that stuff.
So humans, you
Yeah.
get your choice of size. They're resourceful, so they get the heroic inspiration on a long rest.
You.
You get a skill of your choice. Versatile, so you gain an origin feat of your choice. And then they have 2 languages. So I was going to do the magic initiate
Okay.
for their, if we went human, for the versatile option.
Backgrounds always come with the origin feats. You have a choice. You have origin feats you can get, and then humans get an additional feat. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
I was
yeah,
going
mean,
Wayfarer for my background.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you might be able to just adjust that with a custom background like Chris did, and then just flavor things. If you start with the base of the human,
Are you
Okay.
okay with going with like human
Yeah,
variant?
that's fine. I don't think I've ever played a human, to be honest.
I don't know if I've ever seen you play a human.
Variant human is super fun, and I've done it a bunch of times because that bonus feat rocks.
Which I chose-
Certainly allows
Yeah.
them to blend in as humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
chose
it's
Heart
cool.
of
I'm
Darkness.
using lots of quotation marks
Like,
as I talk for the viewers.
When you say it was
listeners.
an experiment that didn't intentionally happen, is it like the lab never acknowledged it, or is it that they were
They
the
were
subject of an accident?
destroyed.
That's
Destroyed,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It would be that the lab didn't intend to make them,
Yeah.
Okay.
per se.
All right.
They were experimenting.
2
and
technicians
this was an
who
accident.
got into an
Yes.
accident.
Basically,
Yeah,
think
yeah.
hybrid changeling human, shardling human.
Sure.
Yeah.
Two lab techs who went with the wayside of something that went terribly wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Added too much of potion X. We're Powerpuff Girls! Oh my god!
Dixie and Trixie, good job.
That really just came out of nowhere. That was not the plan.
Is that the one with Mojo Jojo?
Yes. Are you Bubbles or Buttercup? You're totally Buttercup.
Yes.
that means you're Blossom.
Yeah, as the mastermind, I would be Blossom. You get to be Bubbles. Fuzzy Bubbles.
Buzz? Okay, so let's see.
I'm gonna start calling you Fuzzy Bubbles.
Oh my goodness.
So I just changed the human here, or human page detail.
Sorry, I just got wicked excited.
So
You have
Also
to go
leaning
into your character.
like, the
more.
Arcana,
I'm in that right now.
wisdom, skill set as a mastermind.
Yeah, see, my dude is like picture
History.
Beast from X-Men. That kind of flavor of
Right.
heavy. That's just
yeah.
maybe a little more derpy. I'm planning to give him a voice kind of like when I talk with Pawnee, so that he's the one that he wants people to underestimate him and think he's just a big stupid brute. As
I
it
mean,
turns out.
well, what's coming to
Yeah,
my mind is like in Mission Impossible, you have that big burly guy, and there's at least one scene where we see him acting as a cook,
Yes.
on scene. In order
Are you
to,
talking about Batista? David
I have no
Bautista?
idea what his
Probably
name is. It's been
yes,
too long.
yes.
What is this?
Is it my what I was envisioning for when Kate was describing her character? I don't know if you've seen Mission Impossible, the first one,
A long time ago.
long time ago. I don't know if you remember the big burly guy.
Yeah, Ben
really.
Raines, who
Not
played
really.
him.
No,
Oh, okay.
okay, but yeah, there was at least one scene where he was on site as pretending to be one of the chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's how he stayed on site.
A
But
background element rather than an actual infiltrator. Exactly.
If we're going the Ocean's 12 route,
Yeah.
like Trixie is like the George Clooney role,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yep, yep, yep.
Like the schmoozy guy.
What's Mixie?
he sees the shadow.
Mixie's the Chinese acrobat in the safe.
This is true.
Jason Statham in those movies? Too?
No.
I'm trying to think
Brad Pitt.
who would be the closest parallel to how I.
There was a
envision
guy
this
that was always changing disguises in that movie. I can't remember which one it was though.
I'm gonna have to like watch these movies now. Just
Ocean's 11, the whole set of them, they're awesome.
And
I
you're the
love
guy that
them.
plays the card dealer
right? The sommelier, there's unexpected things for a big burly person to do, but they're actually really good. Yeah. So
Every time we go into a situation where like you're all playing the wait staff, or you're all playing the kitchen staff, like I'll be coaching you. I'll be your acting coach.
you'll be making our costumes. You'll be that's you are the master. That is for sure.
You'll be the guy actually out on the floor drawing attention away from the staff.
Think of Trixie as the one that's like, okay, so we know that these are the targets. She's got the history.
Are you saying that she's Yin,
and
the Chinese guy?
Connections?
Yeah. She's got the history, the arcana, the background, the wisdom, the knowledge of the inner workings of the circles.
But then bugbears are. Let's see.
Cool.
We're going to have to look up the carrying rules for 2024 because that's another facet of Bugbear. Powerful build, you count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. Which is another one where I was like, how cool is that for heist? That seems potentially useful.
Yeah, I'm
comes into play.
hoping that gets handled automatically by D&D Beyond, because I did not like tracking encumbrance, but we need encumbrance for this.
Right.
Otherwise, it trivializes a lot of things.
I'll try to look into that stuff too.
Yeah.
I haven't had much time to look at the new book, but now that
I will also look at those.
I'm 99% sure that D&D Beyond, if you put encumbrance as something that is something, it'll automatically factor it for you and tell you.
It'll flag something on your sheet.
It'll flag for you when you're outside of your encumbrance zone.
Yep. You're probably right, Sarah.
So there's a good chance that the species that you've selected will automatically roll
It'll
that
just
in.
take that into consideration.
I'll check it because sometimes D&D Beyond doesn't sync everything up, so I'll make sure that I know what I'm looking for. Yeah.
What are you talking about? D&D Beyond is perfect. We love you guys.
We do.
Sponsor us.
Yes.
Go on nuts.
Okay. So how are things going with you, Greg? Any particular questions on what you've got going so far?
No, I picked a haunted one, but maybe that might be not. No, I kind of like that haunted one.
Haunted one gets you some cool stuff. Like people instinctivly want to help you. That's potentially very useful, actually.
Especially for a trickster.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to mention the masks?
Yes.
Yeah. I was already told, and tell me if you guys have decided to change that the masks are going to be mildly magical, that they just kind of reflect your emotions on them or something like that.
Mixie's specifically reflects her emotions.
Okay.
Think of my actual face, and
It'll
all
be
of
red.
you know my face.
Yes.
I could see our infiltrator here dressing you guys up as, like, I don't know, sexy twins or some other, like you guys masquerading as performers or something with masks. That could be,
Trixie's
Yeah.
does not show
We're
her emotions.
Different in that regard.
Trixie's basically turned the emotion setting off on her mask.
I'm curious about this now because, now that I'm picturing all these situations where we're the wait staff, we're the cooking staff, like two of the people have these masks on.
Well, they don't look like Jason masks or anything. The way it's described in Greg's backstory specifically, it's almost like a sheet of glass that came over their face.
Okay.
But it disguises their physical features.
Yeah.
It distorts them, doesn't just completely
So
cover
nobody
them.
knows what
Is
their
that
real face looks like. But
Okay.
they don't look so
Alien.
Off the
inhuman
wall. Yeah.
that they'd stick out in a crowd.
Okay.
I mean,
the way I'm
Shakar's
planning-
very
yeah.
diverse,
The-
right?
The way I'm
So,
planning to play it, I mean, it is technically a magical item, but it's more flavor. It doesn't really have any mechanical advantage or disadvantage or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm just going to let it ride as is, and not really count it as anything in particular, at least for the moment. Later on, if we guys decide to want to continue on with these characters, I might have fun with those masks. But for now,
It's basically, if we can, aside with the group, it's basically disguising the fact that their eyes are not human.
yeah.
They're gemstones.
Okay.
They have black
souls.
onyx eyes.
I'm envisioning so many fun moments of Ro, because you said that Ro, they're going to have a very kind of effeminate persona, right? That, how they would go about
flamboyant. Yeah.
dressing their friends up and figuring out what suits them best for clothes and everything. I think it could be really, it sounds fun. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. So I guess most of what we kind of got the idea on here. as we move forward with the character builds over the next week, we can hash out the details then.
Cool.
We're an established party, though, right?
You are an established
We all
party.
know each other.
Right. And that's actually what I was... Thank you for the segue.
Okay.
So let's talk about you guys as a group. A couple of things we'll probably need to decide on. One, optionally, you can decide on a name for your group. This is just simply for roleplay purposes. It's more about your reputation, because you are going into this as an established group with a reputation.
Okay.
And it's that reputation that is the
TFO.
Yeah, that kind of hooks into the start of the adventures. You've reputation of basically being a group that. This is kind of up to you guys. What kind of group do you want to be? You can be the sort of the Robin Hood type group where you try to do the right thing, and even if it's outside the law, kind of thing. That's the kind of goal that fits best, but I can work with it otherwise. If you want to be the more actual roguey groups in it just for the adventure or for the loot, that's perfectly fine too, because I can hook into that as well.
I definitely fit better, like in Ocean's 11, they were always sticking it to like a villain who was worse. Maybe they had sketchy past for complicated reasons, right? But they were always like sticking it to the man, so to speak, right? So
Right.
I kind of see my character being in that vein. Although if people want to do different, I'm open to that.
Feeding into this, I don't know if I mentioned it, but in the time frame that you'll actually be playing, you'll actually be starting 1 year after the end of our previous adventure.
Okay.
So you'll be in the world. The Gold Dragons have existed for about a year. The new council has been elected.
Okay.
And people are just
Transitioning?
just starting to adjust to the new.
New regime.
Which means that
Type
things are
things.
not perfect, but they're adjusting.
Right.
Yeah.
So the end of Dragon Birth happened, and then a year went by, and now that's where we're starting this story. It was
Correct.
a year after
Yeah.
Dragon Birth ended. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So with that in mind, what do you see as the general flavor of group? Kate seems to be leaning towards the outside the law do-gooders.
Yeah.
My character started stealing for necessity at first, and then Ro basically discovered this sort of thrill and excitement to being able to masquerade as other people and be able to steal things. But Ro does not, steal from people who are like below their means. Ro tends to steal from people who are very affluent, very rich, and oftentimes corrupt.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I could
when
see.
you mentioned the Robin Hood thing, you also mentioned like another type of a group after that. Like I could fit into either one of those styles of groups. I mean,
I could see like Fuzzy, like during the reign of the dragon, the Council of Scales, like being the kind who would like try to use his very unique skill set to like specifically target affluent dragon board households, parties, events, whatever. And basically, he would be the type who has like a friend who works in rescue and a bunch of kittens that fall over him later. Right? So he's doing nice things to try to redistribute to those who
Nixie
need
was
it
all about
more,
stealing from
right?
people that didn't deserve it, right?
Yeah.
Nixie is someone, she's all about shiny things, and it doesn't make any difference to her who it happens to be that she takes things from.
okay, so you're a little more indiscriminate.
A little more neutral.
But someone in the middle that way, right? That can work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, is it your personal motivations?
Can be different, right?
Yeah, can be different from the group motivations, but the group motivation should feed those personal motivations. If you follow what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Sure.
and if you want to go with the whole stick it to the man type of goal, that does kind of sound like something that works with everybody.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
she is more the thrill of the game. Like, she is
Right.
very excited about...
But if she's being
process of trying to do these different things. Like the level of complexity thrills her, and she, I hate to say it this way, but gets off on those kind of like how.
Please do not role play her getting off.
Like,
Please do.
it's like how
I love you,
complex
Sarah.
and how difficult is this? How can this be more
That's
challenging
right.
to me? So she's very thrilled about those
Okay,
things.
so she's she's mostly into the thrill of the
Yeah.
heist itself.
Other things mean nothing to her, really.
Right.
Greg, my character gets off on it too. My character very much
So
gets
then
off
if
on it.
they're
Okay,
being
so keep
steered
these two
roughly,
separate.
these two are being steered
Sensing some
by...
steamy Trixie, being a cleric, does not have the acolyte background, actually. I went Wayfarer. Where basically grew up on the streets. So my idea for them was that they kind of became part of the church to get more power and information and be part of the change, because chaotic good. We'll do what they need to do as long as it's for the greater good. So the idea of the Robin Hood kind of stick it to the man.
Yeah.
So the
definitely fits.
overall group dynamic is stick it to the man.
Yeah.
We also have our own individual likes
I
and
mean,
dislikes.
I see
and
you guys
preferences.
being more just into the thrill of the hunt, being steered a little bit by R2, and most especially her.
I
and
almost
them, right?
even
Yeah,
envisioned
yeah,
that
yeah.
maybe Trixie brought all three of you together.
That would work. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my character
Yeah.
again doesn't steal from like people who are poor
Right.
or even moderate. So there is a certain,
There's definitely
conscience there.
definitive line.
Selective
Yeah,
in
there's a definitive
their
line.
scale.
But
of,
when Ro is stealing from people, they are.
It's a thrill.
It's a thrill to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, so stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man, Robin
And
Hood.
yeah, it sounds like this would definitely be something right up your alley.
So are you saying the
So-
benefactor that we had is someone who was in the church?
Probably someone in the church, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because you wrote it into the backstory that
Yeah.
we didn't really even know about each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
I actually talked to Greg a little bit about this, but I envisioned the situation that got Greg into, Nixie into her mask, was actually orchestrated by Trixie.
Okay.
which I think is cool. And there's a little bit of betrayal in there, but
But brought you all together.
It's for the greater good.
It is for the greater good.
The greater good.
greater good.
Question for you, John. You said you talked about figuring out. Like you said, there were going to be like a group that is well known. Now, I assume that doesn't mean people on the street have heard of us.
No, when I
But
say
people in certain sort of like back alley circles are like, if you need something done, go to these people.
right, that yes, it's something. Yeah,
Okay.
you're not going to be a common name on the street.
Okay.
No,
That's
it's be more like say somebody is somebody's looking for a job done. They go and talk to the local bartender. The bartender says, don't tell anybody, but I happen to know that person sitting over there, kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Like the A team on
Yeah.
TV.
I was gonna say, can we be the abbots? Hey, abbot. Be like, you should go to the abbey.
I mean, we do need a name, right?
Yeah.
We need a name.
But you don't
For-
need one. It's just more of a roleplay thing.
I mean, we should
you
come up.
want one.
We should come up with a name anyway.
It could be fun to have a name.
I think
Be
we should-
like,
I think we
hey,
should have a
you know,
name.
give us a call. We're,
It's kind of it's just kind of a reputation thing.
like a calling card.
Even if you haven't picked one, your reputation has probably picked one for you.
It's like thinking about like if most of our targets were like if the majority of the elite population was at least previously Dragonborn, right? Like I could envision something like the Scale Breakers or the Scale Takers or something like that.
I like Scale Breakers.
Yeah.
Scale breakers.
Yeah.
Would that assume we've been stealing from Dragonborn?
Yes. Yeah.
You can be
Oh,
an
I mean,
SV.
certainly pre emergence of the metallic dragons, I couldn't think how there were many
would
other
be the
wealthy
men we'd be
people who
sticking it to
weren't
mostly.
dragonborn, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
right?
I mean, prior to the
Yeah.
coming of Bahamut, the Dragonborn species.
Innately.
I mean, as far as the continent of Idor goes, the council was corrupt. They were all Dragonborn. They were corrupt. They had a lot of Dragonborn working for them who were corrupt. but there were lots of other Dragonborn who were not corrupt.
And more importantly, they also had a lot of underlings who were not necessarily Dragonborn working
Yes,
for
correct.
them.
Right.
Like local
Yeah.
mayors and stuff like that.
Sure,
that
sure.
just,
I'm trying to avoid painting a species as being
Innately
Overly.
evil.
right,
Yeah.
correct,
I mean-
correct. So I mean, having us called like the Scale Breakers.
How
for
about the cleanup
whole-
crew?
I mean, the Scale Breakers is a bit of a
I
double.
like that. Yeah,
It's a double entendre because the scale could also be that the scales of balance or justice
I
were
was just
out of
thinking that
balance,
Libra-ish.
right? But
Scale Breakers, as in implying scales of justice breakers.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm open to other ideas too. but,
Counter
yeah.
levers.
but you don't
Lemurs.
leave anything.
Lemurs. This. I'm giving you an insight into my ADHD brain right now.
Well,
Levers
if-
went to lemurs.
If we want to like keep like just throwing out text messages to each other after the group,
Sure.
after the session today, keep sending out text messages. What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
Plus,
Then
I'll
we
light
can do that.
bringers to use the.
I mean, that's from a
Old
previous
school.
campaign.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's more open of a name, whereas what we do is very covert, right? So I don't know. Accurate in concept, but I'm not sure.
Shadowbringers.
Yeah.
No,
Well, part of my other nickname
that's trademarked.
would be ghosts.
The ghost.
That is true. You are referred to as the Grey Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghosts of the machine.
Ghosts of something or other.
Yeah.
Something ghosts. Ghosts of something.
Yeah.
Ghosts of time.
Maybe something to toss around then.
yeah. We'll
For
definitely put some more thought
next
into
week.
it.
Oh, random question. What was the Kender character sitting there, or is that too meta and we'll find out down the road?
Oh no, that's
That's
just
just your supervisory character? Okay.
no, that's just so I can look
See
at
things.
so I can see things.
I saw it. I
As
was like,
the
is
DM,
John
you need to
legitimately
actually
going to
put a
play
character into the
PC?
campaign to see the campaign.
Right.
Right.
John couldn't
Yeah.
see our characters at all
Okay.
unless he had a character in the
I
campaign.
did do
it's-
that.
I had to do that with Candlekeep too.
That's why I just called him Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could call ourselves Charlie.
Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, no, that's copyrighted too.
Charlie's Devils.
Yeah.
The Devil Dogs.
Well, we could think of an acronym that starts
God,
with
I hate my
letters.
intrusive thoughts.
Okay, so we've got our party goal, kind of the stick it to the man type thing. Try to do good, little bunch of bad people acting as do-gooders. I can work with that. Last thing we need to decide is your base of operations, and this is where we can actually get to do a little bit of world building. You are starting in that main city, that big city in the middle of the map.
Shakar.
Shakar, yep. But it's a particularly large city, so it will have just about anything that you guys want to work with. But basically, yeah, you need a place where you meet clients, and you need a place where you meet up in order to make your plans and things like that. They don't necessarily have to be the same place. In fact, probably best if they're not. So how do you envision that working?
What if we did a, since there's a religious tie, what if it's like a rectory or something to
Like
that effect?
have our apartments like attached to whatever church has do-gooder leaders who are open to trouble who got them on the path, basically, Sarah's character.
You know, like,
We're talking about like where we live as part of the
Probably,
church thing?
yeah, like living in like a church dormitory or something like that. As far as like how do characters who, in our line of work live kind of austerely out of the public eye, right?
and
I don't know. I don't
maybe
hate that.
people
That's-
come
yeah.
in and confess to recruit other services.
People have to go to the booth, where the confession booth.
That could be fun.
It's like, oh, I'm looking for the insert name here.
Or a special
like the
confession
Abbey.
booth, right? Yeah, like the Abbey.
Yeah, there's like a very I want to confess the specific sin that nobody ever says.
or a very specific booth, like the booth that's in the back corner of the church away from the other three or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
true. Somebody
that's-
walks in and
yeah,
says,
yeah.
I want to confess in this booth.
Right.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
and then they know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
Right.
And they bring you back
yeah.
to that booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the private booth.
Or
please.
I'm looking for Father blah blah blah, who is the
So it's almost like a mafia type church.
Honestly, I think I can work with that.
Okay.
I like that
Going
idea.
with what I had planned already.
I hope that
I
our
could
religious
probably
listeners are not
adjust
offended
that.
by this.
I am so sorry. But I would almost envision it like a church that's like not really in use anymore.
Okay.
Like it doesn't have weekly services or anything like
And-
that.
and-
Abandoned
Some,
church.
or a church to some minor deity. or
In
something
the
like that.
pre-Metallic Dragon age, that kind of church would have had great utility as far as like maybe that backroads path to help the people who were really the most trodden, who were struggling, right?
Yeah.
Like how
Who
do
were
we
being really
maneuver
oppressed.
things? Perhaps we have to do things sketchy, with this cover around
Yeah,
us, right?
it's a
And
place
then-
that makes sense for people to go to when they're in trouble.
Right.
Right.
But was a way to like really help people that were oppressed.
Oh, I'm sorry. This family is here under asylum right now. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so our base of operations is essentially some kind of a church that's not like
Not some ornate like big.
it's not some giant church that's constantly in use. It's sort of like an
Correct.
older church that is smaller and there aren't really regular services there.
down the beaten path.
Down-
You wouldn't
down the beaten
necessarily
path.
Know it's there if you didn't know it's there.
Right. And then
It's-
and people will go into the church to connect with us through some means, possibly a confessional booth. And we live somewhere close by on the grounds in a place that is separate from the church building itself, right?
Right.
Some kind of a rectory or something.
Like an urban building or
Something like that. Okay.
youth center.
Maybe somebody goes up to like the I'm not a churchgoer, but like there's some place in the church where they go in and they put like a wafer or something in a
Oh, you mean like a
Like a
the
token of
candle
communion.
lighting
Yeah.
type stall?
some sort of like when they
Shrine.
Somebody who actually goes
Yeah.
into churches can fill this in.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah
I think
but,
it's an
but, but,
altar of some kind.
but like yeah, but like, you go and you go up to the altar and you put this very specific thing in the altar and then
Altar or
They
shrine,
know to send
depending
in
on the religion.
Reverend
Yeah.
Trixie.
and then they know if that goes in the bowl, then they don't go to a regular priest, they go to Trixie.
So maybe our group is the Abbey Guardians or something like that. That would be,
Or just the Guardians.
Guardians of the Abbey.
not the galaxy.
Yeah. All right. So, do we want to go with that with the token?
I would say
Token
yeah.
in the collection
I'm
plate.
okay with that. Yeah.
And
Like-
they light a red candle.
Yeah,
Right.
instead of like the
Collection.
token of Saint
Yeah.
Anthony, it's like something. It's like
Yeah.
St. Angelus.
we have a calling card.
Yes. It's a special coin that they put in the collection plate when they're requesting services. I like it.
Yeah, so
Services.
it's something where like John was saying, where people can go and ask like a bartender about something that they need to have done or something, and then maybe they give them this very special coin to put in the collection plate.
Here,
Right.
you should go to this.
Go to this
address.
church, and take
Yeah.
this coin with you. It's kind of like John Wick.
It is.
So cool! I love it.
I need to watch those movies.
I've seen the first three. I love them.
And we call the place Sanctuary.
It is our sanctuary.
Our church is the Continental. That's from John Wick. Sorry, too much John Wick. I love John Wick.
No, our church is the Lincoln, not the Lincoln Continental.
Okay, so people get an offering for the collection plate, and when they bring that in, then they speak with one of us, probably somewhere in the church. But we still don't have a name yet. but we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can discuss that.
Yeah, we can discuss that later.
Well, that means we need an official administrator person that oversees the facility. Oh, okay.
Well, we could have somebody that works for us at the
I would
church.
bet
True.
that there's
Yeah.
an actual reverend,
Yeah, like a Charlie.
mother,
Oh
father.
man, this
on
character
site,
just exploded in
right?
my head, like some really like kick-ass priest or something like that,
Yeah.
who loves to stick it to the man. And
I
is-
was
and is not
actually-
really like a
I
priest,
was-
and is like, forgive you, Father, as he's like beating somebody's face in, who's a bad guy.
I love it. I was almost wondering if the church might be tied to the monastery via the gargoyle mentor, who we never got to play with on the last campaign, because they're troublemakers, right? Like that's the troublemakers for good is the whole point of those three mentor.
But we should have some awesome priest character who takes the offerings, and if somebody causes trouble, he beats the crap out of them.
Or she.
Or she.
She.
Or they. Somebody really awesome who's a badass.
That doesn't work with it.
Yeah.
NP they.
A badass clerik who works with
I'm
us.
a
Or paladin, or
paladin,
something.
The and it. The shit.
Nice.
The she hit.
I feel good.
So we have our base of operations.
I like it.
We have our NPC connection who helps us out with the missions.
Okay, so we got like his badass priest that Rick that takes that offering and then sets up the meeting, probably like in a back room or something
We'll call
like
her
that.
Father Mulcahy.
Back room, nearby tavern, depending
Yes,
on
Father
the appropriate.
Mulcahy.
From MASH?
Yes.
Non-assuming.
I love MASH, so if we want to use Father Mulcahy,
I like it.
Patron yet,
An Irish badass, yeah, why not?
That's flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can flex into that. That's not a problem.
That's
I need
fun.
to actually research patrons to figure out which.
think about which god you worship.
Which one makes
I mean,
sense.
is that a lost church that worships the Colossi?
That could be fun.
I don't know.
That would be a thing.
This is taking on a life of its own.
All the good ones do.
That's why I'm so cool.
That's why we love Sarah.
Okay, so
Special.
so I can work with that. So that if somebody wants to get a hold of you under normal circumstances, they place a special coin, which attracts
collection plate.
in the collection plate, which attracts the attention of this badass priest, who then talks to the person and goes back and
Sets up a meeting with us.
Sets up a meeting with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
What do you guys think? The Wayward Children could be another. When I picture their character collecting everybody else and basically forming this group.
We can talk about it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later.
Okay. All right. This actually.
I'm glad to have excited people.
Yeah.
It is. It's
That idea.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. This actually.
Sometimes I have those.
I'm gonna have to give this some thought.
I have to give it
because
back
this
to Greg,
does-
though. It was originally Greg's concept, so we just kind of ran with it. Spitball.
That's okay.
Greg's concept for what?
The characters.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. Yeah, Greg.
Nice,
Greg
Greg.
texted me. He's like, I think I want to have play a woman wearing a mask. And just from that text message, I was like, that sounds so cool.
And he texted me, he's like, would you like to pair up? And I was like, oh, we could do this. And then we started, the brainstorm was and then we had the drive to Connecticut and back. It just kind of...
And I wrote that when I was on.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to have to rework a couple of little things based on that, because the module does provide a hook for me to be able to deliver missions to you, but I kind of think I can lean into this a little bit better.
Awesome.
Than what
Awesome.
the module provides.
Yay.
So I'm going to see what that can do. All right, that is pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for our session 0. Does anybody has any other questions or anything, just general concerns, or any specific issues that came up that you didn't get a chance to address?
I would, at some point, I'm not saying right now, because of where we are in the character creation process, but I would like it. I think it'd be fun if during the next session, if we could each describe our characters, like how they look, how tall they are, the way they sound, the way they behave. Just generally kind of give a description of our characters. It's a little more detailed and fleshed out.
Sure.
Yeah, since you are people who know each other.
I have a proposition
yeah.
for you all, and I will do it over the podcast because it might be something that interests the listeners.
What's that?
Something I have seen other groups do in the past.
Okay.
I think we all subscribe to things like Spotify or some sort of playlist type thing. It might be fun for each of us to make a playlist that would be inspired by our character.
Interesting.
So, what kind of music would they listen to? What
Right.
kind of vocalize
Right.
would you assume with them? What? personality would come
Sure.
across in like a musicality standpoint. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
Would your intention be for us to say,
We could
my,
then
my
publish
character's
them,
playlist would be this?
and my playlist is available on Spotify under.
Something like that.
We
Interesting.
can actually
I like
put that
it.
out.
I've heard of that happening. We've seen other groups do that before, but yeah, I realistically, when I'll have the bandwidth to do it, that's a big question. But
I was
think it's
was
awesome.
thinking the same
Yes.
thing. I mean,
That being said, you guys could give us ideas to build
Sure.
a playlist for you and work
Yeah.
with you on it.
That's-
Yeah.
You wanted
that's a
one of
thought.
us to help do it for you.
Sure.
Yeah, 'cause
that
our
would be-
parents
that would
here are
be-
limited in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parents are.
yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I put something small on my plate and suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. And even just that playlist idea, it's like, I love that idea. If I start doing it, I'll probably feel really overwhelmed in about 5 minutes.
But I know I personally, if I make them, I feel
Yeah.
really inspired to really get in my character's
Sure.
head
Yeah, I
when
will.
I listen to the music itself.
You're making me think of I think it's one of the Ocean's movies. There's a character in one of those movies who like puts on a headset and is like doing the heist to like classical music or something. In their
I
head,
think I know the scene you're
basically.
talking
Yeah,
about. It was
yeah.
actually it was how they were synchronizing their movements.
That's right.
Oh yeah,
They all
yeah.
started the song at the same time, and they knew
Right.
they needed to do a particular thing at a
Right.
particular point in the song.
But I seem to it was something funny. Like one of the heavy characters was the one who was like really into the music.
There's a scene
Everybody
in
else was just
Blade
listening, and
3
he's
where,
like conducting it along as
Yeah.
he's doing it. Right.
There's a scene in Blade
Yeah.
3, which is
Yeah.
basically an iPod commercial where Jessica Biel is
Yeah.
like getting her iPod all set up and then puts in all the heavy rock music as they're going to fight the vampires.
right.
Like,
I'll work with one of the two of you to give you some ideas. So then,
yeah, well, like
maybe-
we can help
maybe you
make a
build
Spotify playlist for
Yeah.
you, and then like
Yeah, that's cool.
could be fun for the listeners to help them kind of get an idea of who our people are.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Okay, so starting next week, I will hopefully have an intro rewritten for you, and we can start
Mildly
It's a good thing we
adjusted.
decided not to let you do it tonight.
Retcon.
That's okay. And
Hi, my name is Sarah. I like to throw monkey wrenches.
Best kind.
okay, and we can move forward from there then.
Yay!
Cool.
Okay.
Yay.
All right,
So
sweet.
let's go ahead and say goodnight to the listeners.
Good night.
We love you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review anywhere this podcast can be found. Our social media links, plus additional content, can be found on our website at knightsofroleplay.com. Please tell your friends about Knights of Roleplay and Adventuring Podcast, and spread the word through social media. Your help and support are greatly appreciated.